So when you have this particular idea of property, I call it the uber social idea of property, and you view property not as the beginning of society, not as the assurer of just social relationships. Because when I own something, I can therefore put limits upon somebody else to respect what I own, and therefore those limits can regulate social relationships. If you view property instead as produced by those relationships and not as the source of them, you can then therefore use the idea of property to manipulate society according to your whim. This is the tyrannical assumption behind the Tesla takedown movement. This is the tyrannical assumption behind the kill Tesla phrase, and this is precisely what we are dealing in our current age of mobocracy. My friends, this goes way beyond domestic terrorism. This goes way beyond merely hating Elon Musk. This goes way beyond insanity. And I heard Elon say this is just insanity. This goes way beyond any of this. This is a separate vision of civilization, which views property and the individual as creations of civilization and not as the originators of civilization, and seeks to make anybody who falls outside of that broken ethos a slave, a complete and utter servant to that dominant idea. It is a totalizing notion of man standing in society. It is a totalizing notion of his ability to own things and to use his volition to then use what he owns to create value, so on and so forth. And it completely says, no, there is this vacuum that you are sucked into that you must serve as opposed to your personal interest. At the root of all of this, my friends, is a great moral evil. A great moral evil that attempts to say that benevolence is more important than ethics. A great moral evil that attempts to say that outrage is a fine standard by which to govern or correct perceived social wrongs as opposed to discussion. A great moral evil which supposes to say that you can reduce ideas to people and people to ideas without actually understanding the distinction between either of those. That is what is happening here in these attacks, my friends. Because there's absolutely no other justification for going after old women in Arizona simply for driving a car. So my friends, what do? What we do is very simple. We must recognize the roots of this. We must call out the broken worldview, that property is subordinate to society as opposed to society being subordinate with respect for property. And we must stalwartly defend the right of people to believe as they believe, to use their resources as they want to use their resources within moral constraints, and condemn the mobocratic barbarians who then therefore seek to violate those constraints and remake civilization within their own image.